World, and welcome to another episode of Americana. I'm Willie Montague.
And I'm Shakhea Hinton.
And we have a very special guest today, a very familiar face. Taj, welcome back to Americana.
Hey, thanks for having me, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so this is definitely going to be interesting. So today we're digging into the issues shaping America right now: power, accountability, leadership, and what happens when institutions refuse to protect the people they claim to serve. It's time to have an honest conversation about where America is and where it is headed. So stay tuned, folks. This is America. All right, you guys, coming up today's show, we're breaking down protests in the pews, free speech or religious harassment, Florida's Attorney General declaring over 80 state laws benefiting minorities null and void, and President Trump's one-year mark, the results, the resistance, and the reckoning. Let's get right on into it. Are y'all ready?
Let's go.
Now, we got two. I want to just preface this. I feel bullied today.
Oh.
Well, we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
A moment inside a Minnesota church is going viral after a protester disrupted a worship service, confronting a pastor they say is connected to ICE. Don Lemon filmed and covered the protest, sparking a national firestorm. Supporters are calling it accountability and First Amendment rights. Critics are calling it harassment in a protected place of worship. The question is simple. When activism enters the sanctuary, is that courage or chaos?
I will open the floor to our lovely guests, since I have manners.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a great question.
Yeah?
I'm not a big fan of disrupting church services. I think that's a little bit over the brow. I think that you can go to a parking lot and just share flyers to a church. I think it's fine to just do that. Disrupting it entirely probably spreads the wrong message to your cause. But I think it's really interesting that a lot of conservatives are paying attention to this instead of the church being firebombed with the mass shooting after the Charlie Kirk shooting. It's weird that they're paying attention to that instead of ICE raiding churches because they have Hispanic congregants, you know? I think out of all those three things, disrupting it with a lot of noise and Don Lemon is probably like the most amicable one out of all those three.
But to stay on focus, though, we're talking about Don Lemon covering this story instead of listening, because the pastor asked him to please leave, and he still continued to harass the pastor. And now he's acting like that didn't happen, and he basically, I forgot what he called Christians, but he called us some kind of name. And that was just disrespectful.
Well, if I may interject, I love the context in that, giving another perspective to it. Not just because he and I are like-minded in some ways. You know, this is my first time meeting the gentleman, but I would agree. But to add on to that, it's called journalism. I think there is a time and a place to ask questions, right? Do I think the interruption of the church service was wrong? Given what's happening right now in Minnesota, I would say no. It's actually very on the lower scale. And if we're wanting to bring the full context, as I'm not sure what your religious beliefs are, but I know what yours are, Mr. Montague. What would we have said if Jesus flipped tables present day?
Jesus flipping tables was more about them doing things with inside of what he called the house of prayer that was disruptive to what he was teaching in the belief system.
So pause there.
Yes.
Let's do it frame by frame. So if you're saying that if it was contrary to what he was teaching about the belief system, so where is it when it talks about loving thy neighbor? What does it talk about? The poor will always be among us. Where is that in relation to the Jesus Christ?
I get what you're saying. You're talking about Jesus coming into the church, coming into the synagogue and flipping tables.
And I'm also talking about holding people accountable.
Hold on. Don Lemon is sure as hell is not close to nothing with Jesus.
No.
So him going and continuing with the disruption in the church doesn't match.
But I think we are highlighting more of a point of him providing journalism than the actual issue why he was there in the first place.
But if the
he was
pastor
there,
asked you to leave, why would you continue your journalism? Because at that point, you are now crossing over and trespassing things because the pastor said, I do not give you permission to be here.
he could have left. But he didn't.
He didn't. Now the DOJ is getting ready to lock him down.
DOJ is a part of this. He won't get arrested for it because that's total crap. But we often see a lot of times, and please chime in at any moment. Willie and I do this all the time. I think it's very hypocritical when we talk about the First Amendment and freedom of speech and to be able to protest peacefully, right? This was not peaceful because it was interrupting a church service. But on the other hand, we've had, to his point, we've had people bomb churches in the middle of their reverent time. So why is it that when an organization is trying to hold a pastor who is tied into ICE, who is removing people willfully and unwillfully at this moment, American citizens and those who are illegals in this country.
The pastor was part of this removing.
There is
and
not him in particular, but the organization.
Do you feel like the pastor, Todd? Do you feel like the pastor was doing what he felt was morally right in his eyes to go with what law enforcement was asking him to do?
Of course, he's upholding the white Christianity of white.
So now it's a white Christianity.
Wisdom and what's right in our own eyes. You know, I think the Bible's kind of damning about that in a way, where it's like doing what's right in our own eyes is not necessarily what's right in God's eyes.
Correct.
But do you feel like, so do you know what's in God's eyes?
I think God says, as a nation, we should love our neighbors and be loving towards our foreigners among us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you want them to come to your house?
Whom? Who are we talking about?
Do you want the protest illegals? Do you want ICE to bring them to your house? Are you going to feed them, clothe them, and take them? So
I stand
illegals. Are they? You going to house them? You hear this, folks? They're getting ready to house illegals. You got it. ICE is knocking on their door tonight.
Yeah, but I'm not a nation. I'm an individual.
But I'm saying, but
God has commandments for nations, though, right?
And God has commandments for individuals also.
Yes.
So I'm saying that if you're saying that your moral compass is in alignment with the nation's moral compass that God spoke of, are you willing to take these individuals into your own house? If you feel like the church is not feeding them, take them into your house. If you feel like the church ain't doing their job, you feel like I should not be on the street, are you willing to open up your door, clothe them, feed them, and do everything that's necessary for these illegals?
I think our nation has adequate resources. I don't. Me, Taj, I don't.
Okay, in case.
But our nation does.
How is the case is closed?
Because you're not willing to do it. You're not willing to do what is needed to bring the resources to what these people need.
I think you're generalizing this way too far.
Because it is simple. You're either legal or you're illegal.
No, the story is.
But the Bible says to be loving of the foreigner.
You can be loving with them where they belong.
Sending them to concentration camps?
Send them. What concentration camps?
People are being disappeared.
What concentration camps?
Sterilizing women?
Are you saying the same thing for those homeless individuals? Are you talking about the same ones of those liberals that's been sitting there, children separated from them? If they were doing what they needed to do legally, they would not be any separation. Let's be honest.
Is that love?
You're coming over here illegally, and then you want us to have some kind of pity party for you because you bring your children to a country you know you have no business being in.
A lot of people do have their business being there. Overstaying a visa is a real thing. Sometimes people come and they're lawfully allowed.
But what would happen to you if you go overstay your visa in another country?
I don't think legal immigration matters at this point because ICE is attacking people at courthouses.
Correct.
But like falling through the legal process.
Illegal. I'm talking illegal. Y'all not gonna gaslight me. You're not gonna gaslight me.
You condemn that, right?
But I want you to answer that question. If you went to another country and your visa expired, what would happen to you?
Depends on the country's laws. Not every country is the same.
Pick one of the countries that follow the law. What would you think would happen to you?
I don't know. Canada's pretty chill about it.
The country that follows the law, not that's chill, you would be deported, yes?
Maybe.
Yes. There's no maybe. No country is going to let you stay in there. Let's move on.
That's not every country.
I'm ready for these two. All right, so let's move on. Attorney General James Utmeyer argued that laws violate the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause and declared over 80 Florida state laws benefiting minorities null and void. I'll let y'all take this because I know y'all ready to say that, Black Lives Matter. So tell me.
Black lives do matter, Willie, which would include yours. So on that same topic, why do you think it was rolled out on MLK Day of all days?
You really think that was matched? It would be different if it was in MLK Day versus Black History Month. But why does it matter when it was rolled out? The thing is, have you read all of the laws?
I have.
Okay, and
have you, Taj? Do you know what they're actually covering?
I'm actually behind on what the ADR.
Okay, so would you like to?
You can go ahead.
What are some highlights?
Okay, so some of the big apples, the big rocks of this, is that it's targeting 80 minority state laws for Floridians who are either entrepreneurs, who have a profession in the healthcare system, or who are wanting to become entrepreneurs and are usually opting into like the various loans for their business startups, or to become a certain profession within the state of Florida, right? So the Attorney General announced yesterday on MLK
Florida
Day,
Attorney General.
Yes, thank you, Willie. The Florida Attorney General announced yesterday on MLK that Florida will no longer acknowledge the 80 laws that target what I just listed, and they are considered to be null and void by his office. So that brings me to my question for us today. What will that do to the economy of Florida?
Nothing.
For business owners?
Absolutely nothing.
No, I can see that impacting businesses.
It would not. If you actually go read what all he was simply is saying is that we're no longer going to enforce this, because if we're going to talk about not going based off of race, as he was mentioned here, then we should not have these laws in place. That does not stop or mean that people are going to be able to go out there and just say, oh, because I don't have to serve you because you're black, or the opposite. Really? So it's not, I'm serious. If you go read the purpose and what the Florida State Attorney General mentioned, it was very clear of why he was doing this. And it had nothing to do with—
Why do you think those laws were enforced in the first place?
In a time when there needed to be equality.
What time
and then he mentioned here, if we're in a time and we're saying we don't want things to pick out different races, he said then stop picking out race. That's what he's saying. If you don't want to feel like you're singled out as a race, then stop having laws that single out your race.
So picking out races happens kind of naturally, though. Like study after study after study like suggests that people that make decisions in certain rooms, like we'll see like a white face and be like, okay, this is more favorable versus like a black one. We see this in courtrooms. We see this in the hiring process. If your name is Tyrone versus if your name is Tyler, you're more likely to get hired if your name's Tyler versus Tyrone.
Well, blame your mother that. But I would say this.
I gotta blame my mom for certain employers just being like, if my name's Tyrone, screw them?
Yes, bias.
What I would say is, this is what I said before, because y'all pissing me off. This is what I said before.
So happy to do that.
This is what I said before. Start your own then. Y'all don't like when I say that.
These attack black businesses.
Start your own. Do what you need to do among yourself. Like, it's the hypocrisy of the black man needs to, or black women need to be able to do what we need to do. We gonna survive, but then you blame the white man. It doesn't make sense to me.
So riddle me this. You often talk about
a little bit more. There's nothing wrong with even a little bit more.
Let's bring it home a little bit for Mr. Montague. You often talk about you having your own business and you being a mentor for underrepresented young men, right? The population that you serve is what?
Mixed. Yes, we have
you
Hispanic.
Identify as a what man?
I'm a black man.
You are a black man, right? So when you filled out your application to start this business, do you not think that you are a part of the minority business owners that will be impacted by these 80 laws that are now null and void?
I may be part of the minority, but it did not stop me from being able to thrive. I never went and said, because I told you this before, and I'm going to say this right now, all the part of my support predominantly has come from white people, grassroots people who believe. When I go ask for support from my people, they don't want to do it, but it's their kids that we're serving.
So then I now—
How would you make it harder for you and those kids?
How's it harder for me?
You as I don't know if you're an S corp. I don't know if you're a
501c3.
501c3. Thank you. Like, why would you make it harder? Like, these benefit black-owned businesses, black charities, black organizations.
I teach these boys every day how to start a business, how to establish without. I've sat in rooms and take them to rooms with people who were black and white and Hispanic who were thriving without having to have a law to be able to help them to do it.
But why remove like certain opportunities?
I'm not removing nothing. You need to talk to the state attorney general. Well, I'm just telling you that this is not going to be my excuse to be angry that black people are being done an injustice when the injustice lessons that is done is when we don't talk to ourselves about working with each other.
Well, if that is the case, Willie, I guess you won't be impacted by this since you say that a lot of your supporters are white donors. So this doesn't include you. But for the 3.8 million black people who actually reside in the state of Florida, which is what, 16% of Floridians, of that number, there's like over 400 and something thousand black business owners who either are small businesses or who have a brick and mortar or who identify as a business owner, right? So that number will be impacted by these 80 laws that will roll back. Not that it won't flourish, but they will be impacted.
So let's give a quarter. Y'all mark this, April of 2026. That'll be when we'll be out of this quarter. Let's see how impactful this was to the black business.
Well, we can't say that because a lot of the laws don't go into play until July.
Okay, so
give it a year.
It to April
okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see that, and you will see the incline, not decline. And I'll prophesy that in Jesus' name. What's next?
I hope you're right, but I don't think you are.
We will see that I was right bigly because it's going to be great.
Speaking of bigly.
Today marks 1 year. There you go. Roll right. Today marks 1 year to President Trump's return to the White House, and America is still split right down the middle. Supporters say the last year has been about restoring strength, enforcing the law, and putting America first. Critics say it's been chaos, division, and a dangerous expansion of executive power. Either way, this isn't just a political anniversary. It's a national temperature check, because the real question isn't whether people like Trump. The question is, what kind of country are we becoming under the pressure of this moment? Well, I'm going to turn this over to y'all Trump haters, and y'all let us know.
No, it's not that I'm a Trump hater. I am a critic of anyone who sits in the office, but this is the man.
Are you?
I am. I was very critical of both Kamala and Biden, even Obama, so let's not act like I wasn't. So,
okay.
I'll be the first one to say I was wrong about the first year.
Tell us.
It's way worse than I thought.
Dang!
It's way worse. Like, oh my gosh. Like, Canada's saying that they're going to go to war with us over Greenland? Jesus. He didn't mention Greenland on the campaign trail. That's worse than I thought it was going to be.
He did mention Greenland.
He did? And y'all still voted for him? Gosh, dang. Wow.
I
he really could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue.
I think President Trump is doing a fantastic job in his first year. I think that we have a bunch of weak-kneed, jelly-back.
In what metric?
I'm going to give you the metric, but let me first call your names. I'm the weak-kneed, jelly-back cowards that we see out there in this country called the left. Is always demeaning what is taking place. But if you look at the increase of ICE, which I support, we are seeing a decline happening with the crimes in these blue cities that the blue mayors and the commissioners was doing nothing about. You are seeing there is an economic incline when you talk about, I've researched this, black businesses is not declining. And so President Trump's economy is soaring. He knows what he's doing. He's a businessman. He's not the Pope. He's not here to be the Lord and Savior of America, but he is doing a job that a business person will do. And that's my case on President Donald J. Trump.
What did Trump do during his first year here, his first year of his second term, to increase black businesses? Like
the money, the same thing he did in his first term.
What policy?
It's not a policy. He put the funds that was there. It's up to, I keep saying this because
his first term was Obama's policy.
No, the hell it was not.
Policies.
No, it was not. When he put that platinum plan in place, that had nothing to do with Obama.
The platinum plan didn't get
get through because it was not used. But he put those, what did he put in place? Opportunity zones that not one Negro person uses.
All right, I can point to Obama policies. I can point to Biden policies. American Rescue Plan under Biden.
Yeah, Obama policy was to turn the White House into rainbows. That's what that was. That's what Obama policy was. Right. That was to turn to rainbows and butterflies and to go out there and make every man a woman. That was his policy. Now you can tell me something else.
So Obama did that, and so Trump is now making everything into a golden statue, which idols usually fall down very hard.
Well, if they
let's talk about the demeanor of the president, right? His physical nature within this first year of his 4-year term. Today's press conference, did anyone see it?
No, I did not get to see it. No,
it was horrible. Not because I am anti-Trump, because I am. It was horrible because there was a lot of rambling. There was no substance. There was no full sentences. Nothing was really comprehensible with the press conference. It was long, it was drawn out, it was run-on sentences, it was rambling, it was a made-up victory tour that he's trying to make people realize, like, hey, I know smoke is going on, there's fire over here, but let me just kind of distract you and let you know that gas is now $1.99 in certain states when it was $4 and something. Okay, Trump, yes, because you don't stole these people oil and you over here selling
What
it.
oil did he
You over here
steal?
stealing Venezuela oil.
What did he steal?
Y'all over here
Now
stealing
y'all want to
Venezuela
complain
oil,
about the gas
and
prices.
you want to
Everybody, I'm gonna say this.
grateful for the dollar and some change.
I'm gonna say this about both of you. Everyone is not great, good, or any type of orator.
No, but he says that he is. That's the thing.
Well,
you can't even finish that.
I can go out there and say
I can't even let you finish that.
say that I'm a TED Talk expert. That doesn't mean I qualify to be a TED Talk.
But you're on a TV show,
right?
So you
he's been on
speak
TV.
well. Yes, he is. Let's bring that into the fold.
Mentally, though. You're not falling asleep on camera during
What did y'all say that about Obama? About Biden?
When did Biden fall asleep?
Biden fell asleep the whole term.
Now he did fall. He fell.
He fell
forward. Yeah, he did.
But what, like, Trump literally is like,
yes.
There
are certain things that
if I was President Trump, I would be tired too of the bull crap that some of the people spit out.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Tired.
Here's the thing.
He's a sleepy boy.
I genuinely want to know from you, Willie. This is not a partisan thing. This is a human decency. Let's have a real conversation. Although you praise and worship Trump,
I do not worship Trump.
You do.
I do not.
You see no fault.
I do not.
You see no fault in this.
I do not worship Trump.
My question to you is, when will your party realize that he is aging? And I'm not an ageist, but there is a time and a place when everyone has ran their course. When will he pass the baton? Now, we think that he may die. Some people are saying that they're predicting this man's death. I am not saying that. But what I am saying is, if Trump is saying that he is this king of the world, that he sees himself as a king, why not leave on top as a king? Why not pass the baton?
I want this to be clear.
When he has his full faculties, although we know that it's failing.
I want this to be clear. I am an ageist. I do believe he is too old. But that does not mean that I do not support the fact that he can still be able to function. Having age on you does not mean that you cannot function.
I'm glad you said that, but do you honestly feel like he is functioning at his full capacity?
I believe that's why you have a cabinet. That's why you have administrative leaders. Those are why you have individuals that can help steer the car. He has people.
So then why is it hypocritical of you to say that about your current party who's leading this country when it was Biden and Kamala Harris leading the country? There was such a problem. Is it because she was a woman? Now, you've shared with me before that you don't feel like a woman is ready to lead the country, let alone a black woman. So with the remaining time, I
didn't say that, though. I said a woman. I did not say a woman of color.
I'm baiting you.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't say that because I didn't support Hillary and she's white as snow.
Uh-huh. Okay. But a woman, you don't think is ready to run for office? I do not think a woman is ready to run for office, have the highest sit
office.
In this seat. Yes. Thank you for that correction. But as far as Trump, if you go back and do the playback of today's press conference, I want you to come back and tell me, honestly, Shakhea, he did a fantastic job. I mean, that man 10 all across the boards. I mean, just phenomenal, bigly. Truly, there is a decline in our president, cognitively and physically, but his cabinet, the people that he's placed around him, are doing one hell of a job in protecting and shielding him from that. But what happens?
Well, they did that with Biden. No one said nothing about it.
We did. That's why he jumped out of the race. That's why he dropped out of the race.
He dropped out of the race and didn't even give a fair opportunity for her to actually be an actual candidate. She was selected.
That is true.
Now that I don't agree with, but I would say he, unlike her, or Biden, we do have Trump has 3 more years. Maybe there is something in works for him to move.
He may.
I'm talking about. You know what? I'm through. Thank you.
You know what, Taj? Thank you so much for coming today, kicking us off on this wonderful Tuesday. We definitely appreciate you and your input. But I am Shakhea Hinton.
And I'm Willie Montague.
Ooh, honey. This is Real Talk, No Spin. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on AFRO TV. This is Americana.
Have a good night.